All alone but not
I was
lonely.
listening to RJ.
You were.
Attorney Nikki has a post-Valentine date.
Yes, Attorney Nikki has a post-Valentine date. She does, she does.
Valentine, Attorney Nikki.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning to your guest, Attorney Marquez.
Yes,
Yes.
Attorney Marquez and Vanessa. How about you, Lita? How do you have any observations about show business or talents?
I'd like to ask a question, even if I'm not in show business.
Of course.
Maybe you're going to tackle that later, but
No, it's okay. Go
it
ahead.
came to my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Ask you if you usually there, for example, extras, and you have no particular employer. I'm asking about their SSS membership. Are they covered by SSS?
That's a good extra. So like an extra in a movie or a TV show.
And all that.
Mm-hmm.
About they're covered by SSS, Attorney Marquez.
Are they covered by SSS? Let's say actors who come out as extras all the time, and that's the kind of work that
And
they
even
can get.
actors, the main,
Even the main actors. Are they covered by the SSS? Can
Well,
they?
as regards the extras, to determine first whether or not they're employees, it would really depend if they were hired specifically for their unique skills. Because, as you know, right now there are some extras who are already well known. Like, for example,
Like
what's her
me.
name?
I'm just kidding.
No, there's this movie about this extra who suddenly became well known because of the horror movie she's in. So in that particular case, you can consider her to be no longer as an employee but a unique talent. But for example, if you're engaged in providing extras like a manpower agency, for example, because with regard to extras, you really don't need particular qualification except, for example, you need just some person to pass by the particular scene, right? So in that case, they can be considered as employees. So if they're engaged for their skills, and that can be an indication that they're actually a talent, not an employee.
Okay.
I asked this, Nicole, because I had a friend, may his soul rest in peace.
Mm-hmm.
Because he had been into movies as extras. For example, he acts as a priest or a doctor in a small bit role. Not he was not a member of the SSS. He was not. So when he died, he had no SSS benefits.
Yeah. Lita,
Sad, very sad.
very sad. Lita, I guess if let's say you, Lita, own a company where you kind of employ a lot of people who can act or whatever as extras, and then every time they need extras for a movie or a TV show, you supply them with the extras, or you assign it. Okay, they need a tall person, or they need two girls who look like they work in an office or something like that. Then maybe they can now avail of SSS benefits. But it would be up to if they were employed by a company that really supplies.
Could have been self-employed, no?
Yeah, if you're self-employed, can you?
If you're self-employed, you can be a member of on your own. You can be a member of SSS. But if you're an employee, then your employer should enroll you in the SSS. Yeah.
Lita, that your story reminds me of. I had an uncle. He was married to my aunt, to one of my aunts. He was an actor in Italy. And he was actually a lot of time. He's an extra in a lot of movies that you can see even on TV to this day. Sometimes you turn on the channel late night and I'll see him. Like for example,
Carlo Ponti.
I beg your pardon?
Carlo Ponti.
No. Actually, his name was Giancarlo Prete. He's Italian. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the movie Lady Hawk, because I'm older than you. Well, Lady Hawk, starring Michelle Pfeiffer and Rutger Hauer and Matthew Broderick, came out in 1985.
What happened?
Well, he had a really hard time also, like, having kind of like a steady career, and in terms of benefits, like what you're talking about. Like, having the regular sort of thing. Sorry, I don't know what it's called there, the SSS, but having the kind of regular benefits to rely on, because he was an extra here, or you'll see him in a movie series with Jane Seymour. But he pops up all over the place. Or there's this big action movie, and then he's there in the first 10 minutes. We're like, oh, it's Tito Giancarlo, and then he gets killed within the first 10 minutes because he's an extra. But after a number of years, he decided to go into, it was still the movie business, but he went into dubbing, and he found more security there, but he would still act. But I know what you mean, how difficult it is. That story just reminds me, even stage actors, it's difficult if that's really your craft, and there's a form of it can be very financially rewarding if you become as big as Brad Pitt or Angelina Jolie. But for most of the people who engage in acting or other artistic ventures, it can be very difficult, and there are ups and downs.
Last question na lang, Nicole.
Joshua, of course, please ask as many questions as you want.
I've noticed Rafi Wenceslao every or before a program. He has this disclaimer.
Yes, disclaimer. That's true. Yes.
Yes. Sometimes I say, why the disclaimer when the program is so beautiful?
Wow.
For example, super branding.
Yes.
And I said, is that a requirement of the KBP or you're just playing it safe?
Well, it's partially it's not a requirement of the KBP, but it's partially the requirement of management here, because we don't like to censor our broadcasters, but sometimes people may have their own views that don't necessarily reflect the views of the station, and it's just to kind of
anyway, it just amused me.
It amuses you, yeah. Especially when it's my turn to talk, you need that disclaimer because you never know what I'm gonna say.
No need for Nicole to. Sometimes you get so emotionally and politically. What do you call this?
Yes.
Inclined to a political. What do you call this? So you need a disclaimer.
Yes, I need a disclaimer.
Anyway, as what Miriam Defensor Santiago said, it could not be sabrosa under the rose.
Yes,
keep it under the wraps.
Yes, I can't keep it under wraps. You're right. Cannot be sabrosa under the rose.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lita.
Okay.
You too. Bye bye. So nice to hear from Lita Ramos. Thank you for calling in, Lita, and you asked some very good questions. And Vanessa and Attorney Marquez, that's why a lot of parents probably discourage their children from, what, you wanna act or you wanna sing? Oh, please don't go. You wanna paint? Don't go into that, because they worry that they won't have the financial security and won't be able to survive. It's not that, I want to tell some kids out there, it's not that your parents don't have faith in your talent. It's just that sometimes no matter how good you are, it doesn't translate into your having this great career. And then I have another question for you kids out there who want to enter into it. Are you doing it because you love it? Or you think you can make so much money? You think it's an easy job, right? Because when we see all these artistas, we think, oh my God, they make so much money and it's so easy. Sometimes it's actually true, because they can't even act and they're on TV, and you're like, what? You have the same expression for anger, being in love, and they have that sing-songy, but oh my God, please, what is the director doing? Who wrote these lines? And can you deliver it better? But it's not because your parents don't believe in you, but you should also ask yourself, are you willing to make the sacrifice and go into this? And if just in case you don't make it really big and make a lot of money, do you have a fallback? But at the same time, parents also, I suggest you really also believe in your kids and encourage them. Just guide them. But if that's really what they want to do, well, what can you do? They're your kids, and just be supportive at the end of the day. We have another caller, Mang Hernan. Let's put him on. Good morning.
Nicole, good morning.
Good morning, Mang Hernan.
Yeah, I heard you talking about the employer-employee relationship between broadcaster and station.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was part of it earlier.
Yeah. What I ask you is, what is the relationship between the broadcaster and the caller?
The relationship between the broadcaster and the caller. Mang Hernan. Well,
Is there an employee relation? Yeah,
Mm.
otherwise, if there is, malaking sisingilin ko sa'yo.
Talaga, no, you know, Mang Hernan, actually, no, there's no relation. You know what? You bring up a good point. For the callers who call into our station, we know, and let me state this, that you guys call in because you want to. Whether you agree with the views of the host or not, whether you agree with, with the views that the anchors, express. We don't ask, we ask you, hey, call in if you want, but we don't require you to call in, right, Mang Hernan? But I bet, Mang Hernan, that there are some other stations out there who plant people to call. So maybe they have an employer-employee relationship. What do you think, Mang Hernan?
Well, the thing is, if there's any, I would not like to be paid because I enjoy so much already calling and talking to the public through your station.
Thank you, Mang Hernan.
Yeah, may I add something?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, about banning plastics.
Mm-hmm.
You heard about that?
No. You mean, like, let's say in Pasig on Fridays, they don't use plastic, all of these?
Yeah, there are cities now in Metro Manila.
Yes.
Muntinlupa, Makati now, Mastillas, and some other cities planning to follow suit. No? What my comment here is, plastic is an innovation. Plastic is a discovery, a product that could make, could provide convenience to people. No? But there are views like, what they did in Muntinlupa and Makati, that plastic is a nuisance, a garbage that will worsen our environment. There is a Republic Act, so-called Solid Waste Management Act, the first law actually signed by JMA. It provides the segregation and management of waste, including plastic. What our cities, our local government units should be doing is to implement the law.
Yes.
The law. That means there will be no plastic thrown away anywhere.
It will be recycled.
Yeah, it will be recycled, and it's it's still money. There's money in plastic waste actually. So it looks to me that the LGUs because they cannot implement the law. They are looking for some other ways that would ban plastics, and they would have alternatives like paper. Okay, but paper comes from the tree.
That's true.
Okay, and they are supposed to protect the environment.
You're right, Mang Hernan.
Yeah?
You're right, Mang Hernan. I mean, they should just implement the law, because I think the law that's there is there. If you follow the law, if you implement the law, it maintains a certain balance.
You know why they are not, some cities, some local governments are not implementing the law? Because there is money in waste. The cities and municipalities, they have contracts with private contractors to gather the waste, and the people's money are spent on that.
That's true, Mang Hernan.
And because there is contract, I don't know where the money goes. So that's my point now. I'm very perplexed by what our local governments are doing, and I think they are tolerated by the national government.
Yes.
Yeah, they should implement the law instead of banning plastics. Plastics makes us everything in the supermarket are all in plastic.
That's true.
I can hardly mention any commodity that is not that does not use plastic. So it is an important innovation, etc., that makes our life more convenient. Let's implement the law, and we will be eliminating plastics in the streets and in our steros.
You're correct, Mang Hernan. If you implement the law, then we wouldn't have a problem instead of coming up with all these.
No problem with plastics, but they don't implement the law because there's money in contracting waste in our
That's true.